Josh, if engineering were a swimming pool, you'd be the dark blue water slowly expanding around the kiddie pool.
That is gross, inappropriate, and absolutely true. Welcome to Engineer vs. Designer.
The podcast.
For people designing everything from Legos to space stations. I'm Josh, mechanical engineer of SolidSmack.com.
And I'm Adam, industrial designer of CADJunkie.com.
This week we've been at Siemens PLM Connections.
PLM conks for life, suckers.
What's up? In Las Vegas.
Which, we have to admit, was a pretty momentous occasion.
That's right.
Because it was the first time that Josh and I actually met in real life.
Real life, baby. That's right.
And let me just say, Josh's karaoke voice is epic.
Epic. It's good, right?
It's so
right?
good.
Good. Well, in other news, while we were there doing stuff, recording, our first ever live show in person.
With none other than Paul Brown and Mike Rebrukh of Siemens PLM to talk to us a little bit about an app known as NX.
So just a little background for those who don't know, NX is a CAD system used primarily for huge, ridiculously complex assemblies.
It's not really intended for the mass market.
Well, you're probably not going to run down and buy a box copy of NX anytime soon.
But frankly, it's just cool with a K.
With a K.
We love big, powerful tools.
Yep.
And NX is about as big and powerful as they
Oh,
come.
yeah. So here we go. First ever EVD interview live and in person.
And by the way, this week's episode is brought to you by Fortis 3D Production Systems. Fortis Systems produce accurate, durable prototypes and production-grade parts using high-performance thermoplastics. Check it out at fortis.com. Ladies and gents, Paul Brown and Mike Rebrukh of Siemens PLM. So, who are you two that we're sitting with right now?
My name is Mike Rebrukh. I'm a Director of Product Management for NX CAD area.
And my name is Paul Brown, and I run the marketing team for NX, the global marketing for NX in the product engineering space. So that's both design and analysis.
So, Paul, what would you say is the most important part of your job?
To me, the most important part of the job is actually going out and meeting customers and talking to customers.
No hesitation, none whatsoever.
I mean, it's also the most fun part of the job. That's another one. You know, if you look at what's the best thing is the chance to go and visit customers around the world and talk to them.
So, what's the background history on NX? Where did it come from? And if NX were X-Men, which X-Men would it be?
Well, that's easy. That's an easy one. Let me answer that one first. Sounds like it would definitely be a Wolverine. So,
all right.
We actually even had a theme at one point a few years ago. Yeah, there's some interesting analogies you can draw there. But so NX involved, it's been around since the 70s, late 70s, in one form or another. Went through a number of mergers and kind of evolution of platforms. And
what was it used for in the 70s?
Pretty much same as it's being used now. I mean, it's a digital form of creating designs or drawings using computer-assisted type of technology.
But I think early on, I mean, am I correct in saying that it's been historically primarily transportation, right? You do a lot of planes, trains, and automobiles, right? Or is that not true?
And
industry-wise,
machinery is the other one. Machinery is the one that I think surprises people. That we have a lot of, particularly in Europe, we have a lot of machinery companies.
Like mold tools and fixtures.
Mold tools, fixtures, printing
tooling,
presses, tooling.
Oh, okay.
Big, complex products, and that's been our strength. But increasingly, I mean, just to go back on the background, way back in the 70s, it was called Unigraphics. And then, of course, the combination, when we came to the NX phase, it was when the Unigraphics business and the SDRC Ideas business came together to form a business. And there's NX, which was the kind of the next generation from that, as the background of it. So.
Yeah, I mean the evolution is kind of interesting. You're saying what's different, in the 70s and now. I mean, people do the same things as they did in the 70s today. The main difference is technology's evolved. We started with wireframe, we started with 2D drafting basically, doing digital drafting instead of drafting boards with pens and pencils. evolved with wireframe modeling. Solid modeling came along. History-based modeling followed shortly after. Direct modeling has evolved over the years in different forms. We can do more today. We can do it more efficiently. We can do it faster. We're pushing the envelope. I mean, people never thought they would be able to do, whether it's pure CAD design or simulation or manufacturing. So, just like hardware advances every, 18 months, I mean, software seems to be following suit very closely. And so,
You think it's going to get faster, or is there a...
absolutely.
I think it's going to continue to get faster and more power, and we will use every piece of the power that we can get. So
The most common, I guess, misnomer in our business is actually there are no technology barriers to do whatever you need to do. It's just software. You write some code and it does some things.
Okay, so speaking entirely in limerick form, if you would, for the rest of this question, just to kind of mix it up, what is the NX 8.5 elevator pitch? What's the pitch?
the pitch is limerick form. That kind of.
All right, you don't have to.
Really, we're talking. The main benefit of 8.5 is the work we've done in user productivity. I think in previous releases we've had some very major breakthroughs like synchronous, like HD3D. In 8.5, the big focus has been to take lots of smaller projects and build them together to improve the whole workflow. And so that's been, at the time you were seeing in our presentations today, there's lots of kind of things that individual users can go, that's going to help me out. That's going to help me out. Yeah, that's exactly the problem I had the other day. And now that's made it much more efficient to do. And I think that's the key for 8.5.
I have to say, we just watched your demo on some of the new NX 8.5 features. Holy wow, you did some stuff in that demo where my brain macaroni melted into this gooey sludge that dripped out my ears and onto the press table.
You liked it.
It was cool stuff, and just some new tools for solid modeling, new interface improvements, make it smoother, easier to use. In particular, though, a lot of ways of dealing with extremely complex models. As you said, that's what you do really well. So in layman's terms, as you move forward with NX, what's your strategy? How are you picking and choosing what things you want to work on to improve the product over time?
I guess maybe the one ways of answering that very complex structured question of yours. Whenever we make a plan, like how do we know what to do? And driven. To me, a good plan is always a balance between a number of key strategic things you could possibly choose to invest into. Customers they pay in maintenance, dollars, so they want something in return for all those maintenance dollars. There are certain levels of innovation, where you have to not just listen to your customers, but in understanding how technology may be evolving and what the customers may need to do. I mean, we're the experts, right? I mean, we don't tell customers how to design their products or how to run their business, and in turn, we're quite good at what we do. So we try to research and think of a number of different innovations that we can put forth, and we typically tend to do that every release, more or less.
Would you say there's a particular type that you go for, or is it mostly just whatever the customer asks for?
No, but that's my point. You balance what the customer requirements, you balance innovation, you balance competitive information that you're able to get and assess, and you come up with a fairly balanced plan of saying, you don't want to focus, majority on one or the other, or, something else. You're trying to really reach that balance in terms of having a fairly competent and desirable offering, once a year roughly or so, and give people reason to migrate, or not migrate, but version up. So in the value.
Okay.
And I think it's fair to say if customers come with, and we start seeing trends of approach, we will go back and look and think, okay, how can you solve that problem, but without, because sometimes a customer will come and say, what you've got to do is this. And that's kind of great for solving that one particular problem, but the job that Mike's team do with the development team is actually take a step back and say, well, actually, maybe that isn't the exact solution, the best solution for that, because if we do it this way, we can solve that problem, and we can make these other people happy, and we can do a wider range, and we can get some competitive advantage out of it. So we do a lot of balancing, and we go through a lot of the planning process. Mike's team, the marketing team gets involved, the sales team gets involved. It's a good process for bringing together the ideas and also discussing the relative merits and strengths and what we do need to do and what we don't need to do.
So, in the keynote presentation this morning, CEO Chuck Grindstaff, is that how you say his name?
Grindstaff.
In the keynote presentation this morning, CEO Chuck Grindstaff made a big deal of what he called openness on the stage. What does openness mean in this industry, and why is that important?
I think to us, openness means that we publish the APIs, for example, to allow NX to be connected to other systems, to be managed by other systems. One of the things, we have both NX and Teamcenter. Obviously, Teamcenter on the PLM side, NX for design and analysis and manufacturing. But we don't mandate to our customers that they have to use Teamcenter to manage NX data, for example. That's one example of openness, is we say, if they want to hook it and have SAP manage NX, they can. We give the access to the toolkits to tie these things together. We're not in the business of what we have to do. Our responsibility is to make the integration between Teamcenter and NX the best it possibly can, such that they wouldn't want to go and do anything different. But if they want to do it, then they can do it. If they want to manage NX with Windchill, then the tools are there to be able to allow them to do it. And so that's one example of openness that we see. Being able to communicate NX data around using whichever standards you want, whether it's STEP, whether it's JT. JT itself is a published format, so allow anyone, if they want to, start writing JT data, getting that data in. So that's the sort of openness that we look at. Being able to plug things in through APIs, integrate into the data structure. That's really to us, and we actually publish the NX data structure as part of the NX Open toolkit, so you can get right in at the NX data structure, and you can extend it. You can add extra objects to it if you want to.
How can we, as a society, as 3D CAD developers, users, encourage kids like mine to get more interested in engineering and design, and how has Siemens contributed to that?
This is an interesting challenge. I've got my ones are all older, but it's the same. It's gone through the same challenges of how do you make them understand that particularly these sciences and technologies are interesting, and I think a lot of it is about making it fun for people to see and understand education. There's another company that is absolutely excellent, Lego. And in fact, they recently had the Lego World, Lego Fair, because one of the things they're doing, of course, is doing much more around virtualization, and you can get children, with video games and being part of the Lego World, and they're stunning. I mean, they're here actually. If you might see them, the guys wandering around, and it's great because for us. They're saying, okay, they're using NX as the core of definition and then feeding out into all of this extra tools. And you start looking at it and say, wow, and those sort of things. And if you think about it, I don't know how you first got into engineering, but I remember playing with Lego and we in the UK we also had a thing called Meccano, which kind of probably it was the metal strips with nuts and bolts that you made things out of, with lots of holes.
Erector sets.
Okay, yeah. So and that was kind of the type of stuff I did. So. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago in the UK, I took part in what's called the Big Bang, and basically it's a show aimed at school children. And Siemens had a stand. We took a big stand where we had both we had the wind power people on, the healthcare people on, the PLM our team we were there, and the whole idea was to try and encourage children to look at science technology as subjects. And I sat with quite a lot of times with so very small children, and they ask you, what do you do, and you look at some of these things, and one of the ways we did it, we actually had we partnered with Red Bull Racing. They were on the stand with us, and they gave us a whole bunch of bits of car made out of different materials, and it's so much fun when you sit down and trying to explain okay, well, one of the key things about a Formula One car is that the engineers spend all their time getting the weight out so as they can put the weight exactly where they want to put it, as low down and under the driver. It was interesting to see how many of those children actually totally understood that the whole idea of keeping weight down. When you can use examples like, try and hold something up and run around a corner, it pulls you over, and you lower the center of gravity. And it was actually very good. It was good fun to actually sit there, and we got some really and actually you get some tough questions of the particularly the ones where it's like, but why? And it's going to well.
That's such a great story. I mean, that's beautiful stuff. We said it was our last question. I'm going to ask one more. What's
Oh, you said it was his last question.
Okay, there we go. I'll ask,
I was going to say, how many does Adam have?
What's your favorite part of your job?
I still think it's working with customers. It's working, going out and meeting people and just talking about their technologies and how we can help. So
what about you, Mike?
I think I would have to concur with Paul, because there's nothing like seeing what they do for real. We play around. We live in the fantasy world, let's face it. We manufacture software, so these guys build physical stuff that gets used, some amazing stuff, from boats, to 90-meter yachts to, aircraft carriers. Lego blocks to space stations. I mean, it's just incredible to see.
That's a great quote. Lego blocks to space stations.
Yeah,
Why isn't that on your
literally? I don't know. I'm not in marketing, Paul. So anyway, that's exciting to meet the people that actually, get involved in those things and use our stuff to build real products. I mean, that's very exciting.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Thank you for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.
And as we said earlier, this week's episode was brought to you by Fortis 3D Production Systems. Fortis Systems produce accurate, durable prototypes and production-grade parts using high-performance thermoplastics. Go check them out at fortis.com. Special thanks to Siemens PLM for having us at their little shindig.
To Susan Sinader for taking that sweet sumo photo of Adam and I.
It's going to do wonders for our street cred. EVD needs those comments like a zombie needs brains. If you listen to the show and wish you could drop us in a pool filled with salty lemon juice and razor blades, head on over to EngineerVsDesigner.com and let us know how you really feel about that.
And if you'd like to see us try to race across a field completely enclosed in canvas sacks, be sure to like us, +1 us, tweet us, or whatever else, as social media has been correlated with short-sightedness and public humiliation.
This show was edited by the magical and mysterious Simon Martin, king of the onion choppers. Our theme music is by Ross Hartman.
We'll see you next week.
And remember, using a leaf blower to levitate a bowling ball is not only dangerous, it is totally awesome.
Awesome. Mutant mango.
Ninja nectarine. Who wrote this crap?
A production of EVD Media.